What's up, guys? Orbital Bacon here, back with another live stream. Finally, it's about time. And I've got some buddies with me so we can talk about some Transformers continuity, if my computer doesn't die first. Say hello to Otto Von Doom and Buggy Von Insecticon.
Greetings, Earth germs.
Hello.
Oh, we got a good bit of people in the chat here. What's up, Koosmoose, Mr. N Animations, Philip, Crossover, Rams fan for life. Everybody, welcome back. People are welcoming me back. I love it. It's awesome. This is grand.
It is very awesome. What is not awesome is I need a better intro to practice.
Hey,
What?
I came in with greetings, Earth germs, so.
Greetings, Earth Gems.
Yeah, but it sounded so cool in practice.
I didn't even. I just came up with the. No, I just borrowed it from Dr. Smooth and Randall Nig.
Nice. For whatever reason, the chat window doesn't want to fill in. But anyway, yeah, it's been long time no see. William, what's up, buddy? So what we're doing in this stream here is discussing the various continuities in the Transformers franchise. Like, everything nowadays has some sort of cinematic universe or, comic book multiverse. Even the video games now seem to have their own universe of continuity within them. So I thought it would be fun to kind of go through the various eras and time periods of Transformers and kind of discuss our experiences with them, our which ones are our favorites, and just kind of the overall importance and general meaning of continuity.
A trip through time.
Yes, a trip through time. Strap in, boys and girls. We're going back to the 80s, to where it all began with Generation 1. I'm not gonna keep that voice up for very long.
Yeah, don't keep us waiting.
I already need water. All right, so I don't even know if I can handle the hotkeys right now. My computer's gonna crash. Look at that, popped up and it won't go away. All right, so anyway, yes, I know the page is unresponsive. Stop telling me things. So yeah, back to the 80s with Generation 1. And, this is kind of the first continuity, but I don't think they even meant for it to be a continuity at the time. Obviously, it was meant to sell toys at the time.
Oh yeah.
But when did you guys each get on board with Transformers? That's the first thing I want to know.
I'll let Bug go first.
Okay, God, I was a little bit... The first time I ever got exposed to Transformers was in, the earliest memory I can recall was some of the McDonald's toys that they had. I don't know what continuity they were going with, what they were marketing it off of, but I remember I had one of those chicken crap McDonald toys, and then when I started noticing Transformers more and watched it, the first Michael Bay movie, and then I started noticing all these other different shows and whatnot, like Transformers Animated, when Megatron was a helicopter and all that fun.
Yeah.
That was the first time I was properly exposed to it, and then as time went on, I kind of learned more about the characters.
Did you watch all of Animated? Did you watch all 3 seasons?
Actually, no, because the thing was, I never had a proper stable cable TV thing. So whenever I got to see a good episode of Animated or whatnot, I was always at someone else's house or visiting, and they would leave me alone with the TV, and I just magically find the channel. So whenever I did watch Animated, it was always scatterbrained, and I wasn't too, I never knew where I was at the series.
Hmm.
But later on, I was able to kind of get the general outline of what happened in the show. Not everything specifically, but just kind of what happened.
Yeah, because animated had a pretty nice continuity throughout its 3 seasons, and they had definitely some homages, but I don't feel like it existed in the same timeline as the original G1.
Yeah, neither did I. Even though they had that stock footage at the beginning, the very very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
detailing the Great War and all that, it still didn't feel in continuity with G1 to me.
No, I feel like it was kind of like trying to do its own thing, like a reboot pre G1 style.
That's one way of looking at it.
Sorry, guys, I'm dealing with a bit of technical difficulties here, I think.
Oh,
No
yeah.
problem. No,
Yeah, isn't that always fun? Yeah. But no, because I know that they used a lot of like the music cues and stuff like that from G1, but it wasn't like Beast Wars. You know, if I don't know if you guys are familiar with Beast Wars, they eventually it started out kind of doing its own thing, but eventually they tied it directly into the G1 continuity.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Now, I personally
yeah,
I
no, go
personally
ahead.
like that storyline. I'm a big fan of that, the one where Megatron finds the Ark, um, during that time when they were all dormant, and he tries to kill the original Optimus to basically erase all the Autobots and Maximals that would have descended from them from existence.
Yeah, like
And
oh, go sorry.
oh, well, I was just gonna say, because it's kind of a, people love it or hate it. It seems, but I like that because it brought him in with the G1 timeline without really messing it up. They could kind of both still have all the episodes happen the way they did without really affecting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like. I never watched the full. I never watched a full episode of Beast Wars just because I think today, when I look back at that animation quality and how it didn't age too well, it always freaks me out. But I did like the concept they went with.
Was Benito is disappointed in you? Sorry, I just had to. But wait, did we ever get to talk about my first exposure to Transformers?
No, no, go for it. Go
Not
for it.
yet.
Um, let's see. To be frank, my first exposure to Transformers was actually the Unicron trilogy, starting all the way. I had never gotten familiar with Beast Wars. I was a true millennial. But
Unicron.
yeah, I got
So,
started with
so you started with Armada then?
huh?
Armada. You said the Unicron trilogy, right?
Yeah, so I got started way back when with Armada, but I think by the time I actually did start getting into Armada, they had already introduced Unicron.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so I just went from there, and even in my childhood, I learned how cringy Energon could be. But then Cybertron came around, and it got better, and then when the Bay movies came around, and I saw all of these characters that I had no prior knowledge of. Who? And at that point, that pretty much motivated me to go back and watch a couple of G1 episodes to prep myself. And I'm just thinking, oh, so this is what happened. And then after the Bayverse, I did sit through all of animated, all 3 seasons, because I just love I just love that story that much. What else? Obviously I sat through Prime. I did not sit through Robots in Disguise. I mean, I watched a few episodes of the first season. I don't remember anything from the second season, but I just remember I was just like, I think I'm done with this series. And then they said it was the final season. I'm like, fine, a few more episodes. And right now,
Oh, he cut out. Did he cut out for anybody else? All right, I'm not sure if auto cut out for everyone or if the stream itself cut out. Sorry, guys, having a bit of technical difficulties here. Trying to get everything back and running again with what is quickly becoming a very old computer. Yes, and joining me, let me see. I'll try to catch up with the chat. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. I'm not sure what happened to the call here. But yeah, I've got Otto Von Doom with me. I've got Bug the Insecticon with me. All right, give me just a second here, guys.
Even though it took me a little while to actually remember it and understand it, but it was such a great experience to have that it got me hooked on Transformers like so crazy, especially at that time they had those Marvel crossover figures, and since I loved Marvel and Transformers, it was the best thing for me at the time. And
oh yeah.
God, I remember I would used to I would get I had all those, I had a couple of those crossover figures, and and every time I was messing around with them, because I'm just a little kid, whatnot, having fun, I would keep replaying all those scenarios and story elements from War for Cybertron, with the Dark Energon and everything. It was like wow, man.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Oh no. And I was really, I did love, like, basically every time Megatron talked in those games, it was just he just had that perfect voice.
Dark Energon is mine to command, whom I will alone restored.
Yeah, I'd say like of that entire game, it was Megatron and Trypticon that were my two favorite characters.
Dude, they have the same voice actor.
Of course they do.
Trypticon and Megatron were both voiced by Fred Tatasciore, aka the Hulk.
Yeah, he is great as the Hulk.
Oh yeah, he does a lot of great roles there.
So the Fall of Cybertron, that's a great continuity right there. The aligned continuity, as they were calling it.
Oh no!
Rest in peace, Rip aligned continuity. Press F to pay your respects to the aligned continuity. But yeah, because I really enjoyed that one. I liked how they were trying to integrate the current show at the time, Transformers Prime, with the games that were coming out at the time, War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. And they had a lot of crossover with some of the design aspects, the story aspects, and even some of the same voice actors were brought in to do the characters. So it was looking so promising, and then it just all like fell apart. It all crumbled. What happened?
Thanks, robots in disguise.
Right? I feel like that may be the show that's responsible for it, even though it seemed to kind of carry on the storyline a bit from Transformers Prime. But I wonder why they decided to just drop all that, other than, licensing issues and Activision isn't going to make the games anymore and all that. We're actually getting F's in the chat for the aligned continuity. Poor continuity.
Oh boy.
That's great.
God, robots in
Everybody's pressing F.
disguise. Oh, God. I remember watching a couple episodes just because I had nothing else to watch at the time. it was a sad day, and Netflix was on, and I had nothing else to watch.
Yikes.
Looking back on it now, it's like, oh, why did I watch this again?
Do you regret your decision?
Hang on.
Oh, I don't know.
Crossover 101 says Robots in Disguise was pretty good, gave us more details on the continuity as a whole. Did it really, though?
Well, see, I
Well, I
don't
mean,
know. I didn't watch that one.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch it
well,
much either, so I guess I'm not really in a position to talk.
yeah, like I didn't watch the whole thing. Like I watched a couple of episodes of some of the seasons. There were some parts that I liked, and there was just about the rest that didn't work for me. I loved the what was it? The Troy Baker Decepticon that was like the wolf thing. I forget what the hell his
Steeljaw.
name was, but
Steeljaw.
Steeljaw. Yeah, I loved just his character, and I think there was I like the design for one other character. I don't remember what his name was. I just liked how he looked.
Can you provide a brief description?
What was
Okay,
it? The
he
lobster.
was not not that ugly lobster. No, it was. He was like he was like an Insecticon beetle and had like two sabers. Fought like Zorro. I think Fred Tatasciore voiced him.
Part of me wants to say Scorponok, but I know it's not.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like that design for him because it just looked so cool and whatnot to me. Plus, it was an Insecticon, so I had a better interest.
You had a better connection.
Yeah, but Insecticons didn't exactly have the best shot in that show.
Couple of interesting comments from the chat that kind of remind me of what the Align Continuity was trying to do is the new video game that's being rumored. Have you guys heard about this one?
I had not heard about that prior to today.
I just heard about it the other
Same here.
day. I mean, like, it was probably within the last 48 hours that I heard any sort of solid details on it. But apparently it's Ubisoft that's behind this one. It's no longer Activision. I know that there was a big fuss, and I mean, rightly so. I don't mean to call it a fuss like making fun of anybody. Like, I was upset about it too, but a while back when all the Activision games like Fall of Cybertron, Transformers Devastation, all the recent games that we've gotten from that publisher, regardless of the studio, regardless if it was High Moon or Platinum or whoever actually made the game, it was all published by Activision because they had the license for it. Well, that contract ended, and it was kind of up in the air. Like, people were wondering, like, is Hasbro going to renew this contract? And then they pulled all the games off the market, and it was not looking good. We were like, okay, unless they renew the contract with Activision or make a new one or whatever to do more games, those are gone for good. And this basically confirms that. This kind of like seals that deal as far as, because people were trying to do a petition. I remember there was a big online petition trying to get Fall of Cybertron to stay online. People didn't really understand, like why it was going away. Like, I didn't even know at first. I'm like, why is it going away? And, did a little research going, oh, okay, nothing we could do about that. But because this new announcement that, Ubisoft is making the new one, and it is, as far as I know, it's actually being called Siege, or War for Cybertron Siege, and it's based on the toy line, or at least the characters that are getting toys in the toy line are going to be featured heavily in the game. It's kind of like what Earth Wars did, what the mobile game did. But here's the thing: is it going to be console / PC, or is it going to be mobile only? And from what I saw, it was going to be on the consoles. I saw pictures. They were promotional. They could have been photoshopped and fake. I don't know, but it looked like it was going to be on the PS4 and the Xbox One. So fingers crossed.
Well, if Ubisoft wants to play this the smart way and make a lot of money off this very popular license, I would imagine they would want to keep it in a console game and try to use what methods they have done in their past games that worked out for them. Like, I probably think if they did make it a console game, they probably would try to do open world style, kind of like their Assassin's Creed and Far Cry games, to kind of have something a little bit new and different. Because to my memory, the past Transformer games were never really big open worlds. They were kind of just quasi a little bit, and then just some linear levels.
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. I mean, they might give you the feeling of open worldness just by having a big level, especially in Fall of Cybertron. It gave you multiple routes you could take to get to the end, but it was all linear at the end of the day. And when I think of open world, I think of a game like, of course, Grand Theft Auto comes to mind, Saints Row, Far Cry, where basically you have this giant world you can freely roam without being on any sort of mission or linear level, and you can go and choose to activate the mission. Like, I mean, the Spider-Man for PS4, Battleframe, who's in our chat here watching the stream, he was just streaming playing that game. That's like an open world game where you get to kind of goof off until you want to start a mission. I would love a Transformers game like that. That would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yes, especially with their latest game, which was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and it had their biggest open world map to date. I mean, granted, it got its own issues there, but just thinking of that, if you could apply that kind of stuff to a game and put it on like a big stage like Cybertron or even Earth or whatever the hell you want to put it in, it would just be perfect, because plenty of different regions to go to, especially if you put it on Cybertron. The Sea of Rust, the swamplands, Iacon, the pits of Chaos. You could go a lot of places with this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it would be awesome to explore the landscape of Cybertron, some of the more notable landmarks, and then make some new ones or add to the lore. Like, oh man, that would be awesome. I would love it. I would spend time not even doing missions. I would just be exploring stuff, because they could do, how they always do those hidden packages or hidden items that you have to find all throughout the map. So they could do plenty of things to encourage exploration, like hidden energon, and stuff like that. So I would be so excited if this ends up being an open world game, especially for the consoles. Just give me anything on the console. I'm so sick of mobile games.
Yeah, I know they do so many mobile. Forged to Fight, Earth Wars. It's just like, no, please, can we move on to more console games?
That's me with literally any time a mobile game trailer comes out. Press F for respects to the Alien franchise.
Oh, that thing has just been decimated.
Yeah,
as
by
a
Ridley
franchise.
Scott, no less.
I never even played the original game, and I still feel sad for that.
Oh, we were talking about the game. Sorry. Oops.
I mean, it is hard to distinguish between the two. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Let's see.
Like, Earth Wars is good. Crossover mentioned in the chat, he's been playing Earth Wars for a while. It's a good game. I've been playing it a lot lately because I just got into it. I was pretty late to the party on that one. But it's fun. I mean, I like real-time strategy games. I used to play Command and Conquer and a little bit of StarCraft. So Earth Wars is cool, but it is repetitive, and it's very much tempts you to buy things all the time. It's not like very bad about ads or anything, but it's always like mentioning that, like, hey, you could get more characters or more resources or things to build your base if you pay $5 or $10. Or you don't have to. You can just sit here and wait days and days for your stuff to finish.
Yeah.
But
as all mobile games practice.
Oh yeah,
It's
I know.
just something I never got it. I just stopped with mobile games. It's like as soon as that happened, it was just like, okay, I can't do this. I can't do the mobile games anymore.
Yeah.
If you're gonna give me a good property with this epic, cool trailer, and then it's just gonna result in me clicking on my phone 1,500 times. Oh, thank you. If
Yeah, like
I
Earth
wanted to,
Wars. Oh, sorry.
no problem, man.
I was gonna be
You
like,
go ahead.
yeah, Earth Wars had a pretty cool looking trailer, and then they revealed it was, and I'm like, ah.
Yeah, that classic bait and switch.
Yep. Oh, sorry to get off topic off of Transformers, but Orbital, you mentioned Command and Conquer. Did you hear about the mobile game?
Oh gosh. I'm gonna just pretend it's not real.
I'm just gonna skip over it because I've never been a real time strategy game guy or a mobile game dude.
I mean, it's like we were just talking about Earth Wars. You know, that's fine on mobile because it's Transformers, so I don't expect an overly complex RTS. But something like Command and Conquer that has a history of being primarily on the PC, like yeah, it's been on consoles too, but I usually think of it as a PC game. It's the same thing as what was it, Diablo that just announced it's going to be a mobile only. Screw you. Like, get out of here.
Just some of these games and their choices lately. Some of these
Yeah,
franchises. Whew.
it's ridiculous.
Yep. It is ridiculous. Ah.
You know, here's something I just never. Here's something I find a little bit ridiculous and something to get us a little bit back on track here.
Sure.
Is kind of how there was never a proper like good arc with the Insecticons, at least until Transformers Prime came in, and then they had that whole mini arc with Arachnid and defecting from Megatron and gathering up her little army. It just seems a little sad that they're usually used as like cannon fodder or just comic humor.
Yeah, like in the very, 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 very first episode that had the Insecticons, all the way back in G1, Orbital, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the Insecticons actually forced Optimus and Megatron to team up to defeat them.
Oh, it. I know that the Insecticons have been, from time to time, been known to act on their own and kind of, I guess you could almost say, rebel against Megatron. But it's they're not necessarily trying to overthrow him like Starscream. They're more just after their own interests. Like they want to eat Energon a lot. They say they seem to consume it more than the regular consumption rate of like your average Cybertronian. So they often would just kind of be like, "Oh, we were given orders, or we were supposed to do this, or we just stole all this Energon, and we're supposed to give it to Megatron. Screw that. We're gonna just eat it. We're gonna do our own thing." And because I remember there was a G1 episode, I think that they ate a bunch of Energon that they stole and were supposed to bring to Megatron. They grew giant. They became like these gigantic Insecticons. So yeah, I mean they're known to do that. They're known to be a pain in the ass. And I like how they've kind of carried that aspect of them throughout various incarnations, like the Insecticons in Transformers Prime were very unruly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that was my favorite like depiction of them, especially how I think it was like right at the start of when we were seeing the Insecticons on Earth, how Arachnid tries to have Megatron get killed by one, and I loved how he barely made it out alive with that, and I thought that was just the best way to introduce them, like these huge, like animalistic characters that even the mightiest villain in the entire series barely made it out alive.
Next to Unicron. Sorry.
Yeah, and it was definitely an inspiration for me and a bunch of different ideas I cooked up for the Insecticons.
Nice.
And it does make me a little sad when they don't get like a proper like arc, at least somewhere good as they were in Prime.
Yeah, I can agree with you there.
Yeah, like what was it? I think it was yeah, like with like how I liked how other shows tried a different concept, with with robots in the skies, as flawed as it was, it tried to do a new thing. Like, okay, Megatron's not the main bad guy. It's not the Optimus versus Megatron show, and then there's the 50 other side characters. We're gonna put the revolving door around, you know, like this is the thing. Oh, the leaders of Cybertron are not exactly the good guys, so our main characters always get screwed. Let's have a new thing, try to branch off from it. Great concept, not always being in the front lines of the Autobot Decepticon war, but Robots in the Skies didn't exactly execute this plan all too well. And it's just these concepts would work great if you applied them with the right characters and stories. Like, like treat the Insecticons as like this, as like locusts. They just spread and spread. There's no tactics. There's no plans. They just go out, and then you have this whole team of Autobots and maybe some Decepticons working together, trying to just combat this like spreading threat,
Yeah,
like whole galaxy wide thing. It's like make the Insecticons a focus threat. That's the kind of stuff I would have liked, but I'm but currently I'm fine with settling with what they did in Prime.
That brings up a good point of what is the importance of headcanon, because that's headcanon is basically everyone's individual universe as far as like what they consider to be official for the history, the happenings, the lore of whatever respective franchise's universe. And a lot of times, it can be argued that this is the official continuity, whether it's G1 or whatever you're going by. But a lot of times people will kind of mix up their own, if there's various continuities, or kind of mix up a combination, or like you were just saying, Bug, have kind of ideas like, oh, it could go this way, it could go that way. And especially I think some of the younger audience, because I know when I was a lot younger, when I was a kid and playing with like the figures and stuff, it's like, yeah, you would see how the characters would act or the stories would go in the show or the movie. But I would always do all sorts of crazy stuff, like they'd be switching teams, good guys become bad guys and stuff like that. So you kind of make up your own stories a lot as a kid, and I feel like as we get older, we're like, no, it has to be the way that the show told us it was. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the importance of headcanon, because I do think that having a good imagination is important.
yeah.
Definitely so. Otto, why don't you start this one off?
Oh boy. Let's see. Where do I start? Where should I even start with headcanon? Like, can someone throw me a suggestion?
Like how about this? Go with your what you perceive Megatron, what you perceive his character is, and his general backstory, what you feel like works the best for you.
I feel like his backstory get presented in the aligned continuity and as well as IW to a certain extent is probably the best way to introduce the type of character that Megatron is. He's a warlord. He gained all this experience from fighting in the arena, and now he's using these skills to wage war and take control of Cybertron, etc., etc. And excuse me.
No problem.
And yeah, that's usually the headcanon that I go with, especially like I mentioned, IDW is going with that backstory as well. And I remember all the way back in G1, they tried to have like an origin story for the Transformers race as a whole, and they were just built by Constructicons. And I'm just thinking, wait, the Constructicons came after the Great War, or no, after they landed on Earth. So that part just confused the. Is honestly the one that I prefer.
I can definitely see. I can definitely see that. It's got like a kind of like a twisted version of the of Spartacus.
Oh yeah, definitely a twisted. Yeah, that's actually a good way to put it. Twisted version of Spartacus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of what other continuities I might have headcanon for. Huh. Yeah, this is a tough
My
one.
yeah, my canons are always like more they kind of roam into the more the fan canon. Like I always currently for me, like when I think of some characters, like just as a prime example here, the Insecticons, how I want to perceive them is I want to try to get like a mixture of what they did with the Fall of Cybertron games about how the Insecticons were like nice horde. They didn't really have any interest in the war until like Shockwave popped in, and then I have it mixed with this with a bit of stuff from Prime about how they're all like vicious when threatened and whatnot. It all just mixes up with me and my own ideas. I view them like they're hive, but they're like they. It's a mixture of like a beehive and like wolves. You know, the strong ones lead the masses and whatnot, and then you have somebody at the top kind of giving the general orders.
Yeah,
You know,
like what happened with Hard Shell and Transformers Prime.
yeah, like that's and like a lot of this is kind of like the foundation for ideas that I have. You know, ideas that I have discussed with you and Orville about how like I would perceive them kind of like gladiate like a mix of tribal people and gladiators. You know, vicious. They just have no remorse. If you're not strong enough to contribute, die. You want to lead, you got to kill your way up to the top and serve the queen above all else. You know, it's just these. It's just what I would perceive as my ideal representation of the Insecticons as a whole. You know, all the like the original three. You know, hard shell, bombshell, whatever you want to call him, kickback and scrapnel, and then arachnid when she became like a queen of the Insecticons. I always liked having that in the little fan cannon I got there.
Okay. Not bad. And by the way, chat, Lugnut is awesome. I miss him.
The grand and glorious Megatron.
Oh, for Spock's sake.
Megatron, is that you?
Oh, dear.
Oh, I remember going back and watching some clips of animated and seeing Lugnut. Just I really liked him. I like how even if he was incompetent, he was just dead loyal to Megatron, no matter what.
He reminds me of Inferno from Beast Wars.
Oh,
And I would love to
Loyalty
see the two
command.
of them interact because Inferno, of course, would be, oh, my queen, the royalty. And Lugnut's like, he is no queen. He is a grand and glorious Megatron. Oh, it would be great. I would love to see the two of them interact. That needs to be a stop motion right there. Just like,
Oh yeah.
like a contest. You know how they have like beauty pageants or whatever? They need to have like a contest, like the #1 Megatron lieutenant. And it'd be like Inferno and Lugnut. Starscream would be in there just as like a troll.
Of course.
Well, if I were leader, gets hit by multiple trash cans.
Yeah, they boo him off the stage. They're throwing tomatoes and stuff at him.
Ooh.
Oh, who else was a ridiculously loyal servant to Megatron?
I don't know. I always pictured Shockwave.
Shockwave, oh definitely, because he was always calling him from Cybertron. He's like, Megatron, are you there? Answer the phone. And then there was there was Thunderblast or whatever her name was from Galaxy Force or Cybertron from the Unicron trilogy.
The one with boobs?
Yes, the one with boobs. Because wasn't she like always hitting on Megatron, like little hearts coming out of her head and everything?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we could have a whole contest here. #1 Megatron fan amongst the Decepticons. We need to make this happen.
Great.
Man, this Unicron trilogy is a little crazier than I ever thought.
Oh,
And I only ever saw a couple episodes of it because at this time I was at a GameStop and I saw this deal for like get 2 buy get 1 free, like little movie section, and I saw this little collection of episodes for Armada, I believe it was, and it covered. I know it had the 2-part episode with Wheeljack coming back to life and being like an agent of Megatron and whatnot.
Oh, sounds interesting.
Well,
Like that was my exposure to that particular trilogy. Although I was confused why they kept calling the Bumblebee-looking Autobot Hotshot.
Oh yeah, wasn't he?
It was always because this was after the Bay trilogy, so the Bay movies started coming out. So I was always confused. I was like, why are you calling him Hotshot? This guy's Bumblebee. Can't you see? He's tiny and yellow and annoying.
Zing!
Oh yeah, animated Slipstream. Is that the first place Slipstream ever appeared? Was an animated?
Yeah, it is. It was. I think. Yeah. Her whole shtick was that she was the female Starscream clone, and nobody knew what aspect of Starscream she represented.
Right, because all the clones were supposed to be an aspect of his personality, right?
Yeah, like let's see. Skywarp was the coward. Thundercracker was the egomaniac. Who else was there?
Was there a Ramjet?
I think it was Ramjet. Ramjet was the Conehead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ramjet was the compulsive liar, and then I almost said Sunfire, but Sunstorm. There we go. Sunstorm was the sycophant, and then nobody knew what Slipstream was.
The mystery. The mystique of Starstream.
Like, the funny thing is that I actually read online that people kept trying to mess what part of Slipstream did represent, like, for reals, when you could easily tell that it's supposed to be the joke that you're not supposed to understand what part she represents. So it ultimately got to the point where he would just answer yes to any theory presented to him.
Okay, that's an interesting thing.
I remember. I think I first saw Slipstream as the. I think she was like a pre-order bonus or the DLC or something for War for Cybertron, for the first War for Cybertron game. in the aligned
Oh,
continuity from
yeah.
High Moon. And I was like, who is this character? And so I did a little searchy on the internet, and it was like, oh, she was from animated, blah blah blah. So that's kind of what got me to go back and watch animated, because I had passed on animated when it first aired. I wasn't really a big fan of the art style when I first saw it, and so I passed on that show. And then finding out that it had introduced a new character, especially one that was like really cool looking, like Slipstream. Like, she has a really cool design. I like the color scheme and everything that she has. So I was like, all right, let me go back and check this out. And animated ended up having like a really good storyline, so I'm glad I went back and watched through that. The first season's a little bit tough to get through up until the end. It gets really good with Megatron's return, but spoilers.
Oh,
But the second and third season are really good, especially the third season where everybody starts dying.
yeah, freaking. If I remember correctly, Ultra Magnus was ultimately supposed to die after Shockwave mortally injured him.
Wow. Shockwave was a cool character in that show.
Oh yeah, dude. Fun fact is that Corey Burton actively petitioned to have Shockwave show up in the show just because of how little he actually did in G1. Well, in animated, he did way more stuff in a fraction of the screen time he had in G1. So he definitely got his wish.
I liked a lot of the casting choices in animated, because they had David Kaye, who had just played Megatron for like 4 or 5 shows in a row, was playing Optimus.
Yeah, that was a big twist.
But he did a good job. Like, I thought it was great. And then they
Yeah.
had you just mentioned
Corey Burton.
Corey Burton, thank you. The voice of Shockwave. And wasn't he the one voicing Megatron for animated?
Yeah, he also voiced Megatron, which means he was sucking up to himself. But anyways.
Right? Now, didn't David Kaye also voice Lugnut? Speaking of sucking up.
Yes, yes, I remember. He used his.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he used like a variation of his Beast Wars Megatron voice that he would later, and then I think he kind of sort of reused it with a more growly rasp for Hard Shell in Prime.
That's great. Because I liked how there was a lot of... It was weird because, in G1, Frank Welker voiced Megatron and Corey Burton voiced Shockwave. And then you fast forward to animated, and Corey Burton's voicing Megatron. And a couple years later, when whatever it was, Dark of the Moon, yeah, Frank Welker's voicing Shockwave, even though it was like unintelligible, babble.
Yeah, like it was just one line. He was like, oh,
bum bum bum. So, but I thought that was pretty cool. They brought back the original voice actor for Blur, and I believe for Hot Rod as well.
Yeah, for the one episode.
The one episode he shows up in, but that was cool. I thought that was a nice throwback. I don't know if it was the original voice actor for Trax, but whoever it was sounded just like him.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure who Trax's voice actor.
It's an organic.
Yeah, he definitely sounded close.
Yeah, so I loved all of that. There was a lot of cool stuff going on in animated. So once you get past the art style and everything, if that bothers you, I don't know. Some people might like it. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
it's a good show. It's definitely a good show.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, and how can we forget George Takei as Prowl's master sensei?
Yokitron!
Yeah. Ooh,
what?
my. Yeah, he voiced. Yeah.
Oh no! Let's also not forget.
Hello.
Lance Henriksen as Lockdown.
Oh, that's right. That was awesome. Bishop from Alien was voicing Lockdown.
Yeah, Bishop from Alien. Let's see, what else did he do? Oh, I'm trying to think of what other role he did.
Dude, that guy has the greatest voice ever.
Just like his natural voice is just wonderful.
It is very.
There's like not many voice actors' voices that just work for me on such a great level, but that man's voice. He could read off a phone book list and it would sound cool. Like Morgan Freeman from the Lego Movie.
Oh yeah.
Funny joke.
Good stuff. Good
I was
stuff.
gonna follow it up with a joke, but you just no, you got it. The phone book.
So that I do want to back onto the topic of continuity. I do want to actually talk about some of the characters that we've just mentioned from animated, because sometimes what we'll see is characters from one continuity or another being brought into what could be considered quote unquote the main continuity. And I guess since we are talking about Transformers, we can all mostly agree that the main continuity is whatever the toy lines are focusing on, because that's at the heart of Transformers. That's what it is, you know. Okay, would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I more or less agree with that statement.
I can definitely go along with it. I know I'm not quite sure if that's the main focus, but I can definitely see your reasoning for it.
Or at the very least, I'll put it this way: that the continuity that the toy line is branching off from, or at least based on, because you know there's always some excuse me, there's always some clear motivation or inspiration rather for each toy line. You know, like the head or Titan's Return was all the city formers, you know, and they had the
Right.
headmasters going on, you know, and Power of the Primes has been like kind of like Target Masters, I guess. I don't really know what the little armor pieces were supposed to be, but a lot of the characters you can kind of tell, oh, these are from the like they were doing the Japanese trilogy or the last season of G1 with like Skull Smasher and Mind Wipe and all those characters. You know, they were bringing in the Headmaster characters, stuff like that. So I would almost consider that to be like the main continuity, like whatever the toy line is drawing its inspiration from it, you know, that's what's going on. So when they bring in characters, like for instance, we're saying that, like, you know, Titans Return, Power of the Primes is all very G1, heavily G1 influence, but every now and then you might see a Beast Wars character, or you might see Transformers Armada character. You know, they did Armada Megatron,
Oh
you know.
yeah, that's right.
So what do you guys think about that? Does that make those characters, you know, official in the main line, or do you feel that that is a character who has maybe been brought into this universe, like you know, dimension hopping, you know?
The dimension hopping idea definitely sounds legible.
Yeah.
I would go for that, like, because I never considered any specific continuity as like the mainline continuity, just due to the fact of how it hops up depending on licensing and whatever may have you between movies, games, whatnot. So I never had a clear cut view of what I considered my main continuity of where these characters would come from. It would just only morph into like just my own fantasy little perception of them,
Hmm.
if that makes any sense at all.
No, it is. It's it's like how we were talking about the headcanon earlier and things like that. I was curious, like, how you felt about other characters being brought in, and if they felt official to you, or if they felt almost more like they were passing through, you know, like dimension hopping. So because I do feel like, even if they give them the aesthetic, because they gave that Armada Megatron obviously because he was sharing the mold with the regular Megatron that had come out in that same line, but it ended up making him look more in line with the current kind of IDW aesthetic that the figures have been drawing from. And so it
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
it almost felt like, is this meant to be an Armada Megatron that exists in this universe, or is this the Armada Megatron, like being, you know, brought in from the Armada universe? Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell, or at least I shouldn't say hard to tell because it's up to everybody, but, you know, sometimes it's hard for me to decide, like, you know, what is this character because of the designs. Like Lockdown, for instance, we were talking about Lockdown a minute ago with Lance Henriksen being voiced, and he's in Earth Wars, and if you get him in Earth Wars, he looks very much like he did in animated, but also he fits right in with the design of all the, you know, Earth Wars characters that look kind of like their figure counterparts. So I'm like, is this animated Lockdown, or is this just Lockdown in the current continuity, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from.
yeah, I can go with there.
So,
Hmm.
just things to ponder.
Hmm. Well, in my own, I guess, experience, I'd say if there was ever a character that felt like they just kind of popped in from something else, like that felt pre-established, even if the lore's changed, I'd say my best example would be Power of the Primes when they introduced Optimus Primal. Cause
Ooh.
like I don't like I mean it was a this was literally actually the first time I was introduced to Primal and literally anything that was related to Beast Wars. So when I first saw this character, I had no idea what I was expecting. I literally thought this was Optimus just reincarnated for for like literally the entirety of the show until I went on Google and then I was like, oh, did a little research and then discovered all the lore. You know how Beast Wars was kind of an interesting continuation off of G1 without it like trying to shout it at you in the face about it. So when
Yeah.
I go back and think on it, it's like, huh, even though the lore is a little like reversed a bit, you know, where they have the Beast Wars characters kind of come off before the G1 stuff, it's like I it's definitely it definitely felt like it was something else.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it was definitely interesting, to say the least, to find out that he was like a descendant of Optimus. I guess all the Maximals are meant to be descendants of the Autobots. That was certainly interesting to find out, and it's kind of like I mentioned earlier. I really enjoyed the tie-in that Beast Wars did to the G1 continuity.
Yeah.
I feel like
Mm-hmm.
they did a good enough job of keeping it from messing with the events of G1, because they've already happened, so you have to be careful with what you depict.
Yeah,
Watch out. Step.
especially on a pre-established like series that's going on when you want to continue anything off it, no matter how long the time jump is, it's like a minefield. You got to be careful where you step.
Yep.
You could blow up, step on a mine and blow up all of the entire timeline.
And then wind up like RID.
Yeah.
RID is the mine. That is.
RID is the mine, and they stepped up.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's a good spot to kind of wrap up the stream. I think we've talked all we can about the various timelines and continuities, but it was definitely a lot of fun and got my imagination going. I think there's some fun stories that can be told through all this. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and discussing some Transformers lore.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Oh, it was a great time.
Awesome. And thanks to everyone in the chat for hanging out. I always appreciate you guys participating, and I hope you had fun as well. I'm going to try to do streams a little bit more regularly now, like I used to. I used to do them about 2 or 3 a week, and things got a little bit too busy for that. But I'm going to try to get back on schedule with that, even if it's not necessarily the same day or days every week. I'll let you guys know in the Discord. There is a link in the description to join the Discord if you haven't already. So, and please subscribe, like the video, you know, all that fun stuff. Trying to get my channel back going here at full steam again. So, once again, I do thank you guys for hanging out, and thanks to Otto and Bug for hanging out as well. And I will catch you guys next time.